शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। सिन्दूरारुणविग्रहां त्रिनयनां माणिक्यमौलिस्फुरत्तारानायकशेखरां स्मितमुखीमापीनवक्षोरुहां पाणिभ्यां मलिपूर्णरत्नचषकं रक्तोत्पलं बिभ्रतीं सौम्यां रत्नघटस्थरक्तचरणां ध्यायेत् परामम्बिकाम् ॐ। ध्यायेन्नित्यं महेशं रजतगिरिनिभं चारुचन्द्रावतंसं रत्नाकल्पोज्ज्वलाङ्गं परशुमृगवराभीतिहस्तं प्रसन्नं पद्मासीनं समन्तात् स्तुतममरगणैः व्याघ्रकृत्तिं वसानं विश्वाद्यं विश्वबीजं निखिलभयहरं पञ्चवक्त्रं त्रिनेत्रम्। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर्गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्ससुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्।
धृतराष्ट्र उवाच धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः मामकाः पाण्डवाश्चैव किमकुर्वत सञ्जय। श्रीभगवानुवाच क्लैब्यं मास्मगमः पार्थ नैतत्त्वय्युपपद्यते क्षुद्रं हृदय दौर्बल्यं त्यक्त्वोत्तिष्ठ परन्तप। अर्जुन उवाच मदनुग्रहाय परमं गुह्यमध्यात्मसंज्ञितं यत्त्वयोक्तं वचस्तेन मोहोऽयं विगतो मम। मन्यसे यदि तच्छक्यं मया द्रष्टुमिति प्रभो योगेश्वर ततो मे त्वं दर्शयात्मानमव्ययम्। श्रीभगवानुवाच न तु मां शक्यसे द्रष्टुम् अनेनैव स्वचक्षुषा दिव्यं ददामि ते चक्षुः पश्य मे योगमैश्वरम्। संजय उवाच एवमुक्त्वा ततो राजन् महायोगेश्वरो हरिः दर्शयामास पार्थाय परमं रूपमैश्वरम्। दिवि सूर्यसहस्रस्य भवेद्युगपदुत्थिता यदि भासदृशी सा स्यात् भासस्तस्य महात्मनः। ततः स विस्मयाविष्टो हृष्टरोमा धनञ्जयः प्रणम्य शिरसा देवं कृताञ्जलिरभाषत। अर्जुन उवाच त्वमक्षरं परमं वेदितव्यं त्वमस्य विश्वस्य परं निधानं त्वमव्ययः शाश्वतधर्मगोप्ता सनातनस्त्वं पुरुषो मतो मे अनादिमध्यान्तमनन्तवीर्यम् अनन्तबाहुं शशिसूर्यनेत्रम् पश्यामि त्वां दीप्तहुताशवक्त्रं स्वतेजसा विश्वमिदं तपन्तम् द्यावा पृथिव्योरिदि मन्तरं हि व्याप्तं त्वयैकेन दिशश्च सर्वाः दृष्ट्वाद्भुतं रूपमुग्रं तवेदं लोकत्रयं प्रव्यथितं महात्मन्.
Is it just 4 of us today?
Yes, Professor.
Very good, no problem. Where are we?
We finished 39, Professor, last time.
39. Threefold pleasure. This we read already, right?
Yes, Professor.
It's like poison, later like nectar. Yat tadagri vishamiva parinami amrutopamam. Tat sukham satvikam proktam atma buddhi prasadajam. Very beautiful. And before that we read the resolve, right? Dhriti. And then before that we read what is the buddhi, threefold nature of. So Bhagavan has said there are 5 parts, right? To the work itself, right? So he said these right. Adhishtanam is the body, right? Sharira, Vang, Mano, Bhihi, Yat Karma Prarabhate Naraha. Right. Then the ground, the agent, Karta, Karanam, the various instruments, Chapratak Vidham, Vividascha Pratak Cheshta, the manifold movement being the pranas, right? And then the Daivam, the divine aspect, right? So now Bhagavan explained then, whoso beholds due to lack of discipline reason the pure self as agent sees not at all, but his is misunderstanding. Tatra evam sati kartaram atmanam kevalam priya. He who is unegoistic, nahankrito bhavo buddhihi. So the right perception, Bhagavan is saying. What is the factor that impels all works? Jnanam yeyam parigyata trividha karma chodana karanam karma karte ti trividha karma sangraha. So jnanam yeyam parigyata, knowledge, the knowable, and the knower is a threefold mandate to work. The instrument, work, and agent constitute the threefold summary of work. Karanam karma karta. So then he says this has trividha, 3 types based on the gunas. Knowledge, work, and doer are just threefold. Knowledge in general is meant here. The distinction among particular cognitions are ignored. Such is the case with the knowable and the knower. The knower is bound up with adjuncts due to nescience, the experiencer in general. These 3 in their generality constitute the threefold mandate to do work. Only when the 3 converge, a beginning to work directed to acquisition, rejection, etc. Jnanadinam hi trayanam sannipate hanopadanadi prayojanah sarva karmarambah syat. That hanopadana is acquisition, rejection, adi. Only then that happens. Tatah panchabihi adhishthanaadivihi, the five, arabdham vang manah kaya shraya bhedena tridha rashi bhutam trishu karanadishu sangrihyate iti etat uchyate. The instrument that by which work is done, its external organs, and the internal ones like the intellect. Right? So in a sense, what we may say is, you see, the beginning of work is in the thought. When the mind moves, only then work starts. So in some sense, karma can be thought of as thought itself. Right? And as long as the jiva is in the body, right? How do we know jiva is in the body?
As long as the prana.
Yes, very good. As long as the 10 pranas, the 5 we know and then 5 others, as long as these 10 pranas are moving in the body, we say the jiva is there. When the pranas leave, we say preta, the jiva has departed. Pranas have gone with the mind. So as long as somebody is embodied, that means the pranas have to be moving. And remember that Bhagavan said here that there are 5-fold, right? And he says the manifold movement in verse 14. So what is this manifold? Pratak cheshta, right? Manifold movement refers to the movements of the vital airs, the in-breath, out-breath, etc. Okay. Vividaha cha pratak cheshtaha vayaviyaha pranapanadyaha. Right? As long as the pranas are moving, then this is there. Right? And what is the adhishthanam iti? Ichha dvesha sukha jnanadinam avivyakti asraya adhishthanam shariram. The ground is the body, in which are manifested attachment, aversion, etc. Right? So the ground is there. The agent is the jiva. Right? Karta upadhi lakshanaha bhokta. Upadhi is limitation. In Advaita Vedanta, it is upadhi that distinguishes the jiva from the Paramatma. Right? The very sense of separateness. In Yoga Sutra, it is called variously asmita. Right? Asmita, that is, I am separate. Right? So once that is there, this upadhi is there, the jiva. Then the instruments are the sense organs, including mind, etc. Shrotradi, Shabdadi, Upalabdhe, Pratak Vidham, Nana Prakaram, the Dwadasha Sankhya. And then prana. So as long as pranas are moving, there must be some work being done, right? According to this definition of work. So then the 5 are the 5 causes, whatever work, right or wrong, that a man initiates with his body, speech, and mind. Vang manaha. Now, thereafter, Bhagavan is now distinguishing Jnanam Gyayam Parijnata. So this here is meant the limited knowledge. That is what is technically called Ajnanam in Advaita. It is not Brahma Jnanam, but it is Vishaya Jnanam. So the senses go out, they acquire some knowledge about the world, right? So the noble are the Vishayas, right? And the knower is the Jiva. And this knowledge is that apprehension we have of the world, all that we do in the world, right? Including the knowledge we acquire in books, etc. Jnanam karma cha karta cha tridhaiva guna bhedata. Now knowledge, work, and doer are just also made of sattva, rajas, tamas. So that must be elucidated. So then he says threefoldness, first of knowledge. Then there the fundamental knowledge, seeing that in all beings a single immutable existence. Ekam bhavam avyayam ikshate sarva bhuteshu. In all beings, one immutable existence, seeing that is sattvic. Knowing pratak tu ena tu yad jnanam nana bhavan pratak vidhan. So when we see difference in all existence, this is rajasic. And then thinking that only my viewpoint is the only viewpoint, that is tamasic. Not even acknowledging that there are other viewpoints. This is the nature of a lot of viewpoints nowadays, right? Okay, what is the work? And again, Bhagavan said that is niyatam and sangarahitam, aragadveshatah kritam. And afala prepsuna karma yat tat satvikam uchyate. That work which is done with passion for a desired fruit. Kama ipsuna karma sa ahankarena vapunah kriyate bahulayasam, with great labor, tad rajasam udahatam. Anubandham kshayam himsam anapeksha cha paurusham. Undertaken due to delusion, mohat arabhyate, and without regard for consequences, and which involves loss, himsa, violence, and anapeksha, without regard for, and competence, paurusham. Right? So this is tamasic. Sattvic is the agent. Then he talked about the agent. Mukta Sangha Anahamvadi Dhriti Utsaha Samanvidaha, devoid of attachment, unegoistic, rich in resolution and zeal, changeless in success and failure. Then that agent who is attached, Ragi, Karma Phala Prepsuhu, Lubdhaha, seeks the fruits of works, greedy, violent, Himsa, Himsatmakaha, Ashuchihi, unclean, Harsha Shokanvidaha, glad and sad. That one is Rajasic. Ayuktaha, Prakritaha, Stabdaha, unintegrated, uncultured, stiff, deceitful, malicious. Vishadi, Dirga Sutri, downcast, procrastinating. That one is Tamasic. Now, the Buddhi and Dhriti. Then the great discriminating intellect, the Sattvic one, the Rajasic one, which understands erroneously dharma as adharma and the other way around, karma as karya as akarya. And so in the Rajasic is one, he mistakenly understands. Yaya dharmam adharmam cha karyam cha akaryam. Athava. That is not after exhaustive examination and decision. Tamasic is even worse. It mistakes unrighteousness for righteousness and knows all kinds of things contrarily. Even occasionally the Tamasic one does not do the dharma. Dhrityayaya dharayate. Then we talk about the resolve, maintains the functions of the samadhi, the one that is rooted in samadhi. And then the second one, which is kama raga, right? Dharma gama arthan dhriti. And then the last one is bhayam swapnam bhayam shokam vishadam madam, the resolve by which a min-minded man clings to sleep, fear, grief, dejection, and indulgence. So depressions, fantasies. Then the pleasures came. So the pleasure, which is like poison at first, but later like ambrosia. And we talked about, all kinds of hard work, the ability to, postpone gratification of something truly desirable and put in the effort now. This is a sattvic thing. I don't know if we talked about the idea of the prefrontal cortex and the development of that and its ability to overcome the limbic brain. These are the hallmarks of sattva. But that one, which is like pleasure in the beginning, but ambrosial pleasure, due to contact and is ambrosial, but is like poison at the end. Vishaya Indriya Samyogat yat tadagre amrutopamam parinami vishamiva tat sukham rajasam smritam. So anything we do hastily for the senses without the long-term consequences thought of to them, that one is definitely causing pain. Yad agre cha anubandhe cha sukham mohanam atmanah nidra alasya pramadutham tat tamasam udartha. That pleasure that both in the beginning and its consequences deludes the self, springs from sleep, sloth, and error. Natad asti prithivyam va divi deveshu va punah sattvam prakritijair muktam yad ebhi syat tribhir gunaihi. There is nothing in this world, in heaven or among the gods, no being is found that is free from these three constituents of Prakriti. Okay. So now Bhagavan is going to explain a little bit about the world itself and its characteristics. So let us start with 41.
Brahmana Kshatriya Visham Shudranam cha parantapa Karmani pravibhaktani Swabhava prabhavair gunaihi.
Karmani, the works. That is the topic. Pravibhaktani, the ones that have been allotted, separately assigned. Swabhava prabhavaihi gunaihi. According to the swabhavas, according to the nature, which is arising from the relative proportion of the constituents, which are the gunas. What are those allotments? Those works are those of the Brahmana, the Kshatriya, and the Vaishya and the Shudra. O scourge of foes, Parantapa, the one who tortures the foes. So, again, here very clearly in the Gita is given the idea that this classification itself is purely based on the relative proportion of gunas in the personality, right? So by one's actions, by one's thoughts, by one's speech, by one's character is how one is classified, not by birth alone. Birth is an opportunity. Whether you hold that or you squander it, just like, a child, a son who is born into a wealthy father's home has a fortune. If he uses it wisely, he reaps its benefit. If he squanders it and goes and spends it on all kinds of useless activities, then he will not be considered obviously rich or fortunate or wealthy or anything. Some simple thing, right? So the choice is there for every jiva to cultivate. And it's also possible that somebody who's born into a poor family may acquire wealth through great diligence and hard work, right? So similarly, within a lifetime, one may purify one's svabhavam and increase the preponderance of sattva and therefore be called a Brahmana, right? And yet it's also true that all are needed peculiarly. The world is not going to be purely superb if everybody is Brahmana. Suppose everybody becomes a monk in a village. Who will support them? Suppose the village is invaded by a foreign army. Who will defend them? Right? Suppose there are no merchants. There are only warriors and there are meditators. Right? Then how will there be trade? How will food be cultivated? Right? And suppose there is no one who takes enjoyment and also does works of service, right? Then how will that function, right? So literally these four are essential. None is in some sense to be denigrated or considered inessential. Like in the body, we have the feet. Suppose I cut off my feet, is that going to be good? No, I can't walk. Right? If I remove my thighs, then how will I be mobile? right? If I cut off my arms, how will I function as a human being? If I cut off my head, how will I function as a human being? You need all of them. That's exactly what Bhagavan is saying. But the difference is this. If you put your head down on the ground and try to walk on it, how effective will you be? People will call you an idiot. If you think with your feet and walk with your head, that's not good, right? So when we think purely, it's not easy because the senses are very powerful, right? The senses are very attractive. Of course, it's very pleasurable to do everything with the senses. We should acknowledge that, right? But if I govern my life purely for pleasure, as the Shudra is doing, then obviously the life is going to go haywire and society is going to go haywire if everybody is like that, right? So therefore, the only intent of this is to say that the person who has self-restraint is given the higher position to guide society itself, and that is only born by virtue of their self-restraint. If they don't perform the self-restraint, they lose that privilege. They fall down, right? But if they practice and they restrain, then they definitely have wisdom, and that wisdom is good for not only them, but their family and their society, the community, the society, the state, everything. This is the idea, right? So of Brahmana, Kshatriyas, this has been highly misunderstood and thought of as, undoubtedly the misunderstanding has resulted in some pernicious activities, undesirable activities. Of that we cannot be in denial. But the main thing is to not throw the baby out with the bathwater. So the main thing is to understand that deep down in the original text, there is great wisdom. And that wisdom is eternal and enduring. When it is misinterpreted by ignorant people and practiced ignorantly, it causes havoc, no doubt. It has caused havoc. So then the choice is twofold. One is to throw away the intelligence and wisdom also and just continue doing. The other is to say, at least, okay, let us take the wisdom and maybe change its implementation, reimagine the correct way of doing it, acknowledge the incorrect ways of doing it, and move forward, right? And that's why we read the Bhagavad Gita and we don't ignore these verses, right? So of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, as well as of the Shudras, the works have been allotted, separately assigned, according to the constituents. The term Shudra has been dropped from the compound because though the Shudras belong to the same genus, they are not entitled to learn the Vedas. And here is a very simple idea. If a person is very licentious, always only engaging in the pleasure of the senses, that person will not have the necessary self-control to understand the Vedas correctly. Then that person may see it as all ignorant and contrary, misinterpret it and abuse it, and then eventually denigrate it. That's the idea, right? So nature is God's Prakriti Maya, consisting of the three constituents. Of this Maya are the constituents born, with reference to which have the works, restraint, and so forth of the four classes been assigned. Taihi Shama Adini Karmani Pravibhaktani Brahmanadinam. Svabhava Prabhavehi Gunehi. Svabhava Ishwarasya Prakritihi. This Svabhava is nothing but God's Prakriti. Trigunatmika Maya. Sa Prabhavaha Yesham Gunanam Te Svabhava Prabhavaha. Born of the. So born of Maya. The gunas are born of that Maya. Swabhava Prabhavaihi Gunai. Right? Maya being the Ishvara Shakti, right? Ishwarasya Prakritihi, very nature of the Lord. So, Athava, it might be explained that Sattva is the cause of the nature of the Brahmanas, Rajas subordinating Sattva is the cause of Kshatriya nature, while Rajas subordinating tamas is the cause of Vaishya nature. The cause of the Shudra nature is tamas subordinating rajas. Serenity, power, covetousness, and delusion are observed as natural to each of these four classes. Prashantya, Aishwarya, Iha, Aishwarya, Aishwaryeha, Muda, Taha, Swabhava, Darshanat, Chaturnam. So, Prashantihi, serenity, Aishwarya, Iha, that must be covetousness, Mudata. These are the four predominant qualities natural to the classes. Or again, impressions accumulated in lives and manifested in the current lives, leading to their respective fruits, constitute the nature mentioned in this verse. Or the manifestation of a constituent cannot be without a cause, etc. Now, what are the works in question? All right, 42, please.
Samodama tapah shaucham kshantirarjavameva cha jnanam vijnanamastikhyam brahma karma swabhavajam.
Very beautiful. So, shamaha, restraint of the mind. This is one of our Shatka Sampatti, right? Remember in Advaita Vedanta, it is said sadhana chatushpada. What is that? Vivekam, Vairagyam, Shatka Sampatihi, Mumukshutvam, desire for liberation. Of this Shatka Sampati, Shama, Dama, then Titiksha, Uparama, Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha, and then Samadhanam, Shraddha, Samadhanam. These are the sixfold qualities. Shama, tranquility of mind. Dhamma, control of the senses. Uparama, which is a, you might say, a kind of devotion to one's practices, right? Samadhanam, again, focus, concentration, equanimity of mind. Titiksha, endurance to opposites. Shraddha, faith in the scriptures and Guru's words, right? So here is being, the first two are being here. Shama, Dhamma. Shamo, Dhamma, restrain the mind, restrain the senses. Tapas, Shaucham. These come more from a Yoga Sutra. So in Yoga Sutra, what are the yamas? Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Aparigraha, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha. Ahimsa, Satya, Asteyam, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha. And then the niyamas. Shaucha, Shaucham, Santosham, Tapas, Swadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhana. Okay? So now you got Tapaha and Shaucham from those two. Kshantihi also came in the Shatka Sampatti. Arjavam. This is a little special, it's kind of a uprightness or guilelessness. Here translated as Jnanam Vijnanam. This is very important. Knowledge and realization. So inward mind going is knowledge, right? Turn the mind inward and know the truth. Vijnanam is when that seeing the truth, the mind comes outside. How does it behave? That is Vijnanam. Embodied by the principle of Kartikeya. Kartikeya is born of the union of Shiva and Shakti, and he shines through all the six chakras. He is the very embodiment of Vijnanam. Jnanam, all our great tapasvis, right? The inward turning mind, the yogi. Ganesha himself. In one tradition, Ganesha is the brahmachari, brahmachari, unmarried, restraining. But Kartikeya is married. Because knowing the truth, he shines through the 6 chakras and plays in the world. Right? So, Jnanam, Vijnanam, Astikyam. Astikyam is very important. This is the fundamental definition of a Hindu. The one who says that, yes, there is. In the Vedas, there is an affirmation of Brahman, an affirmation of existence, an affirmation of it is not a Nastika. And that's also a distinction in our philosophies, Astika philosophy and Nastika philosophy. Astikyam, Brahma Karma Swabhavajam. These constitute the work of the Brahmanas arising from their very nature. The word Shama Dama have been explained, so too Tapaha, physical, etc. Also Shaucha, endurance is patience. Kshanti, Kshama. Arjavam, Rujuta, Evacha, Jnanam, Vijnanam is straightforwardness. Jnanam, Vijnanam. Astikyam, Astika Bhavaha, Shraddhadhanata, Agamarthishu. Faith in the scriptures, in the Agamas, or belief in the contents of the scriptural law. And I said it is basically faith in the Vedas. These make up the work of the Brahmanas, derived from their nature referred to earlier. Okay, then go to 43.
Shauryam tejo dhruti daksham yuddhe cha api apalayanam danam ishvara bhavascha kshatram karma swabhavajam.
Very beautiful. Shauryam, bravery. Shurveer. Tejaha, brilliance. Dhritihi, resolve. Here he has translated Tejaha as power. That's also acceptable. Resolution, Dhritihi, resolve. Dakshyam. Dakshyam is a great skill, skillfulness, cleverness. Skillful, here is put skill. Yuddhe cha api apalayanam. Not running away, non-flight from battle, not turning one's back. Dhanam, charity. Ishwaram, this is in a lower sense. This is Ishvara Bhavaha, lordship, meaning as a king. Lordship over a community, a king or a noble, right? That kind of leadership ability, right? Kshatram karma swabhavajam. These are the work of the Kshatriyas derived from their nature. Courage. Shauryamiti. Shauryam. Shurasya bhavaha. Tejaha. Pragalbhyam. Power is ability. Dhritihi dharanam. Resolution is the will. Sarvavasthasu anavasadaha bhavati. Supported by which one does not suffer from dejection in any condition of life. Uttambhitasya. Dakshyam. Dakshasya bhavaha. Skill is resourcefulness in action in crises. Sahasa prati utpanneshu karyeshu avyamohena pravritihi. Yuddhe cha api apalayanam. Aparangmukhi bhavaha. Facing the foe. Non-flight from battle. Shatrubhyaha. Danam deya dravyeshu mukta hastata. Generosity is free distribution of wealth. Ishvara bhavaha. Might is the lordliness. Ishvarasya bhavaha. Prabhu Shakti Prakati Karanam Ishitavyan Prati. Display of strength towards dependence. Kshatram Karma Kshatriya Jatihi. These constitute the work of the Kshatriya class, enjoined on them and derived from their nature. Vihitam Karma Kshatram Karma Swabhavajam. 44.
Krushi Gauraksha Vanijyam Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam Charyatmakam karma Shudrasya api swabhavajam.
In this, the both Vaishyas and Shudras work are combined in one verse. Krishi, agriculture. Gauraksha Vanijyam, rearing of cattle and trade. These are Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam, merchant activities. Paricharyatmakam, menial service. Karma, Shudrasyapi Swabhavajam, that is born of the Shudra nature. Krishi Gauraksha Vanijyam, Krishischa Gauraksham cha Vanijyam cha Krishi Gauraksha Vanijyam, Krishihi Bhumehe Vilekhanam, plowing of the land. Gauraksham Gaha Rakshati iti Gorakshaha, Tasya Bhavo Gauraksham Pashupalyam ityartha. Vanijyam Vanikkarma Kraya Vikrayadi Lakshanam, purchasing and selling of goods. Vaishya Karma, Vaishya Jatehe Karma, Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam. All these make up the work of the Vaishyas. Paricharyatmakam Shushrusha Swabhavam. Karma Shudrasya Api Swabhavajam. Personal service is that work that pertains to the Shudras, is derived from their nature. Of these works allotted class-wise, the natural fruit is the attainment of heaven. Etesham Jati Vihitanam Karmanam Samyak Anushtitanam Swarga Praptihi Phalam Swabhavatah. See, Varna Ashramascha Swakarmanishtaha Pretya Karmaphalam Anubhuya Tatha Ksheshena Vishishta Desha Jati Kula Dharmayus Sruta Vritta Vitta Sukhamedasaha Janma Pratipadhyante. This is possibly Dharma Sutra of GDS. I didn't know that it is probably not Gaudapada, but because I don't think Gaudapada wrote a Dharma Sutra, but let us see which one we were referring to here. The abbreviations used, GDS. Gautama Dharma Sutra. Gautama Dharma Sutras. Gaudhasu 11:29. Classes and stations, Varna and Ashrama, devoted to the respective works, Swakarma Nishtaha, Pretya, Karma Phalam, after departure, experience their fruits after death. Then by virtue of the residuum, Anubhuya, Tataha Sheshena, they take birth in particular places. Vishishta Desha Jati Kula Dharma Yuhu, classes, families with allotment of merits, Ayuhu, life periods, Shruta, Vritta, Vitta, knowledge, character, wealth, Sukham Edasaha, joys and intelligence, Medasaha, Sukham Edasaha, Janma Pratipadhyante. So, this is a very fantastic formula, right? Basically, following those inclinations, doing the work, they attain, they experience these fruits after death in heaven. And then following that, whatever is remaining comes back as a birth in the appropriate. Gaining the particular places, Desha. So, being born in Punya Bhumi is considered a great consequence of a special residuum of past karma, right? Jati, then to be born in a yogi's family. This is also a great, remember earlier also Bhagavan said, he takes birth in the family of yogis, etc. That is also a great blessing, residuum of previous work, having been done correctly with those whatever. Kula, family. Dharma, character. Ayuhu, dharma, merits. Ayuhu, life periods. Shruta, vritta, knowledge, character. Vitta, wealth. Sukham, joys. Medasaha, intelligence. In the Puranas too, statements have been made about the distinctive spheres and fruits of the different classes and stations. The fruit presently to be stated, however, has other causes. Karana antarat tu idam bhakshamanam phalam. So, any doubts so far? And then can we do 45?
Is it me, Rakesh, or are we doing two?
We had 3 each.
Okay, sure. I'll go. Or Archit, do you want to?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. स्वे स्वे कर्मण्यभिरतः संसिद्धिं लभते नरः स्वकर्मनिरतसिद्धिं यथा विन्दति तच्छृणु.
Very nice. Sve sve karmani abhiratah. In one's work, that work, having great devotion, right? Taking great delight. Samsiddhim labhate naraha. Man achieves perfection. Swakarma niratah siddhim yatha vindati tachrunu. Listen how one wins perfection through such devotion. 46.
यतः प्रवृत्तिर्भूतानां येन सर्वमिदं ततं स्वकर्मणा तमव्यर्च्य सिद्धिं विन्दति मानवः.
Very good. Yataha pravrittihi bhutanam yena sarvam idam tatam. Because through the performance of his works, swakarmana, performance of his works, tam abhyarchya, worshipping him, whom yena sarvam idam tatam, that one from whom all beings have proceeded, and by, more importantly, by whom all this has been pervaded. Yena sarvam idam tatam, by whom all this has been pervaded. Pravrittihi bhutana, that is the one from whom all beings have proceeded. Siddhim vindati manavaha, the inner controller God, from whom all living beings have originated and by whom all the world has been pervaded. By merely worshipping him through the performance of each man's works according to his class, man wins perfection, consisting in the eligibility for the discipline of knowledge. Such being the case, let us do 47.
श्रेयान् स्वधर्मो विगुणः परधर्मात् स्वनुष्ठितात् स्वभावनियतं कर्म कुर्वन्नाप्नोति किल्बिषम्.
This is a very powerful verse and a very difficult verse to comprehend in today's age, Kali Yuga. Shreyan swadharmaha vigunaha. Better to do one's own law, though defective. One's own law of righteousness, though defective. Paradharmat swanushtitat is better than that of another, though well observed. Swabhava niyatam karman. Kurvan apnoti kilbisham. None incurs sin by doing the work ordained by his own nature. Right? This is very, very important. One's own law of righteousness, though defective, is better than another's law, however well observed. The term though is understood here. Doing the work that nature has made obligatory, see verses 43, etc. None incurs sin, just as a worm born of a poisonous stuff is not injured by that poison. Yatha vishajatasya iva krimehe visham na doshakaram tata swabhavaniyatam karma kurvan na apnoti kilbisham papam. Swabhavaniyatam karma kurvanaha. It was observed that one doing work dictated by nature does not incur sin, on the analogy of the poison-bred worm. Also, that an alien law is a menace. Paradharmascha bhayavaha. Besides, in 3.5, it has been affirmed that a non-knower of the self cannot remain for a moment without doing work. Therefore, 48.
Sahajam karma kaunteya sadoshamapi na tyajet sarvarambha hi doshena dhumena rivavritaha.
Very nice. Sahajam karma kaunteya sadoshamapi na tyajet. O son of Kunti, work determined by your nature, though defective, one shouldn't abandon. Why is that? For all activities, sarvarambha hi doshena, all activities are shrouded in flaws, as fire is by smoke. Dhumena agnihi iva avritaha. Right? What is determined by nature is what is born with oneself. What is that? Work, though defective, as it partakes of the three constituents, should not be given up. All works that are initiated, the context shows this means both one's duties and those of others, being made up of the stuff of the three constituents, are engulfed by defects, just as fire is covered by smoke. Thus, giving up one's duties, even if accompanied by the adoption of others' duties, does not help one to get rid of flaws. Besides, others' duties are a source of fear. Nor is it possible for the ignorant to give up work altogether. So don't reject work. So that is a very powerful thing. Then maybe we can start next time. We will do 49, etc. Any questions? Otherwise, we can say Shanti Mantram and conclude.
So I was just trying to understand last two verses. Why, although defective, it is better. I mean, so is it not our duty then to improvise and then to observe others who are doing better and then try to always keep making improvements?
So that is it goes back to the same analogy I gave before. Suppose in a town, everybody decides that they want to be improved and Brahminical, and everybody starts meditating. If you look at most other religions, this distinction is not there clearly, how society should be ordered, right? In most religions, you will just see the spiritual part emphasized. If everybody gives up and starts sitting on Padmasana and meditating, what will happen to the world itself? What do you think? Or more probable now, correctly happening now, suppose everybody starts enjoying the pleasures of the senses, which is what is happening now, right? Then what is going to happen? Right? Because now it is very easy for us to think. It requires a lot of strength in our day-to-day life. Every activity at work is often involving something that may be contrary to our dharma, right? And it's definitely, you're going to stand out as a sore thumb if you choose to follow your dharma very carefully, right? So it is not easy. Wouldn't you agree?
Mhm.
Or you take another situation. In the old days, the king must be a warrior. The leader of the people is supposed to be a warrior, right? So that means today, if you say the head of the country is the commander-in-chief, right? Now, suppose the commander-in-chief has never trained in war. Okay. Do you think they'll be able to take good decisions? It has become a real tradition nowadays. Those trained in law used to go into politics at one point because they thought they're legal scholars, they'll know, but they're not warriors. So they may not know how to take decisions correctly. Even a very good human being and a very learned jurist or a lawyer, right? There are some debacles that come to mind. I tell you, I mean, Obama, an outstanding president in every way. But when it came to Syria, he drew a red line and then he backed off on it. That was a great failure as a commander-in-chief because it showed weakness on the world stage. A trained military guy will never do that, right? Actually, if you look at the British monarchy, okay, do you know that traditionally everybody in their family has to serve typically in the military?
Yeah.
Why is that? Same point. Although they don't lead in the traditional sense, the defense of the country is important, right? And the commander-in-chief should have military training. But now you have guys who excuse themselves on account of bone spurs and they get elected as the president. What can you do? Even worse than that, all kinds of monkeys get elected as president. So you can't, things are completely upside down now. And then you see how the country goes, right? Other example is, you see many people born in Brahminical families, but they may engage in, they're very clever. So they can engage in all kinds of mercantile activities on Wall Street. Okay. Yeah, it makes a lot of money for sure, right? But is it truly upholding what one was supposed to do? It's not for us to judge. Everyone has to ask that question of themselves, right? Right. The attraction is definitely there. There's no doubt about it. It's there. But probably those who think deeply might feel, and that's where the swabhavam comes in. If you've cultivated that swabhavam, right, you will find that a large proportion are in the teaching profession, right? Because that is natural. That is the intrinsic nature, right? That person will not enjoy the other work, right? If that nature is refined, then that person will not enjoy the work. And the work itself also affects the nature. If you work 20 years as a merchant, your nature will get changed to some extent. It's not a crime, but it will change. That's all there is to it, right? Don't you think?
Yeah.
Right? But these are old-fashioned, traditional, ideal ideas, right? And always the best thing to take in all these dharmas is we can only apply them to ourselves. These are not meant to be prescribed to anybody else. The point is to read the text, see how much value you find in it, and see if it applies to you or not, right? And if it applies to you, then good. If you don't think it doesn't apply to you, then there's no problem. But it is not right to go and point it out to somebody else and say, hey, you're doing this. This is not right. Right? It must come from within, right? So, but when we truly examine and we ask ourselves, you feel it, you feel that your nature impels you to be more comfortable in certain kinds of activities, right? And those give you peace of mind, and they give you, calm feeling, right? But at the same time, if one is not placed in such a situation, then even then, doing the works with the idea of, I'm doing this in God's name, is still helpful. So Bhagavan Ramakrishna used to say, there was a person called Captain. He was in the military or something. He had to fire his rifle. And Ramakrishna used to say, Captain is a very advanced person, because he says Om Namah Shivaya and fires his rifle, right? So in a way, he's trying to do his work as a devotion to God. And so even that is better, right? That also purifies the mind, right? There are always some upai to all these situations. They're mainly meant to make us self-reflect, right? And definitely not to be prescribed to others, but for us to examine and reflect and see whether it makes sense or not to each one. Okay? Acha, so shall I say Shanti Mantram? First? Om Tatcham Yura Vrunimahe Gatum Yajnayam Gatum Yajnapatayem Daivihi Swastirastunah Swastirmanushebhyah Urdhvam Jigatu Bheshajam Shanno Astu Dvipadehe Sham Chatushpade Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste everyone. Have a lovely evening.
Sure.
Namaste.
Namaste.
No, sir.